My wife and I live in The Hague, in the center of the city, in a really old house from 1680. And we always sleep in the attic. And it's a really romantic place, like a lot of bedrooms are. But our bedroom looks a little bit like the cabin of a boat. So, but there's only one downside of it, because it's a house of 1680. The isolation of it is not so good. So we are always disturbed by a lot of noises from the city. We're disturbed by people shouting, screaming, drunk people walking over the street, shouting to each other. We're disturbed by trains coming by, or by the trams coming by and the sound of the scraping metal of the wheels in the tracks. Or we're disturbed by the cars that drive on the roads, on the stones. So there's a lot of noise that disturbs us. But what we find a solution to deal with that. So there are actually 3 ways of doing that. First, we thought we sleep somewhere else. We avoid the noise. We go somewhere else, in another room. That's a solution. But we didn't have another space, so we had to sleep there. So that was not an option. The second option was isolate the place. Well, there's a lot of work, and this was not really possible in this old house. So the third way, and that's a way that we found, we imagined ourselves being on the sea. We imagined our bed being a boat, and we float around on the waves. And we imagined that the sound that we hear is all sounds of the sea. So the sound of the scraping metal of the tram wheels in the tracks, we imagine that's the sound of whales communicating far away. And then the sound of the people screaming to each other, we imagined those are the sounds of seagulls in the air, like fighting for a fish. And the sound of the cars on the stones, we imagine those are waves. So we are lying in bed, imagining that, and while we do that, we really feel that we are on the sea, and we almost feel the waves, and we fall asleep on those waves, imagining ourselves. So we changed the context of the sound. We fooled our brains to pretend that we were somewhere that we are actually not. So what we want to do with the group, we want to offer another solution of dealing with sound pollution. So not escaping it or isolating it, but to actually use those sounds and to change the perspective of it. And therefore, fooling around with the brain to make those sounds into something positive.
Thank you.